The average grocery basket has skyrocketed by 42% since 2023, meaning if you were spending $200 on food last year, you're now paying $284 for the exact same items, and that number is only going up. Imagine you're a family of four trying to feed themselves on a tight budget. Suddenly, your weekly produce bill alone could double in a matter of months, eating into everything you've saved. That's the reality of 2026. Prices aren't just high, they're accelerating, and the typical shopper is left scrambling to find ways to stretch every dollar. But what if you could cut those costs in half without sacrificing quality? What if you could eat like a professional chef, using fresh, flavorful ingredients, all while spending less than you did 5 years ago? This is where the chef's protocol comes in. It's not about eating less, it's about eating smarter. Think of it as a strategic framework that teaches you how to shop, prep, and cook with precision, turning everyday groceries into gourmet meals while keeping costs predictable and low. Picture this. Instead of throwing away wilted spinach or overpaying for pre-cut vegetables, you learn exactly how to select, store, and use ingredients that stay fresh longer and taste better. You stop guessing what to buy and start building a rotating menu of high-impact, low-cost dishes that deliver maximum nutrition and flavor. By the time you're done implementing the first week of the chef's protocol, you won't just be saving money. You'll be reclaiming control over your kitchen, your health, and your wallet. The inflation crisis doesn't have to dictate your dinner choices anymore. With the right approach, your next grocery run can be both affordable and impressive. And that's exactly what we're going to explore next. So, the real secret to eating like a chef without breaking the bank isn't about swapping instant noodles for truffles or buying expensive imported cheeses. It's all about mastering the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your plate comes from cheap, high-volume staples that form the foundation of any great meal, and the other 20% is reserved for those flavorful, high-impact ingredients that make everything taste amazing. Think of it this way. Imagine you're building a house. You wouldn't use gold for the floorboards. You'd use sturdy, reliable wood, and then add the luxury touches like beautiful lighting or custom cabinetry to elevate the whole space. That's exactly how your grocery basket should work. Your base ingredients, rice, dried beans, lentils, frozen vegetables, eggs, and oats, act as those sturdy floorboards. They are incredibly cheap, incredibly filling, and incredibly versatile. For instance, a single pound of dried beans costs a fraction of fresh protein and can be stretched into dozens of meals, while frozen spinach is often cheaper than fresh and just as nutritious. Now, when you add your 20%, maybe a splash of high-quality olive oil, a handful of fresh herbs, or a perfectly seasoned spice blend, you transform that humble base into something that tastes restaurant quality. You're not just surviving on basics, you're creating experiences. This approach means you can cook a hearty, flavorful stir-fry for under $5, or whip up a creamy pasta dish that feels indulgent but costs less than a fast food combo meal. By focusing on volume and versatility, you ensure that every dollar spent works harder for you, giving you the power to eat well, often, and impressively, no matter what the grocery store prices are doing. Think about the specific proteins that will hold their value when the rest of the shelf gets expensive. Instead of chasing the cheapest pound of chicken breast, which often spikes with feed costs and supply disruptions, look toward eggs, lentils, and dried beans. These three sources are projected to be the most affordable and resilient in the 2026 supply chain. Eggs offer a consistent protein punch at a stable price because they are less reliant on volatile grain inputs like corn and soy. Lentils and dried beans, being self-seeding crops that require fewer external fertilizers, tend to maintain steady pricing even when global freight rates fluctuate. If you're building a meal plan around these, you're setting yourself up for consistency. Now consider the carbohydrate side. White rice and sweet potatoes are the two staples you want to prioritize. White rice is drought-resistant and stores well, making it a buffer against seasonal shortages, while sweet potatoes thrive in diverse climates and don't depend on heavy chemical inputs. Imagine you're feeding a family of four on a tight budget. By swapping out pasta for white rice and swapping out fresh pasta for dried beans, you can stretch your dollar significantly. Say you switch to a rice and lentil bowl instead of a chicken and pasta combo. You might find yourself saving enough to cover unexpected costs without sacrificing nutrition. This isn't just about cutting corners. It's about smart allocation. You're using resources that won't vanish when the market shifts, ensuring your grocery basket stays robust no matter what the headlines say. It's a practical approach to eating well, one that leverages what nature and agriculture have consistently delivered for us, right through the ups and downs of the supply chain. Think of your kitchen not as a place for daily scraps, but as a dynamic workshop where one strategic trip fuels your week. Imagine you walk into the store with a single, unified goal: to transform a standard haul of chicken thighs, carrots, and onions into 3 distinct meals before Friday. You don't just chop and cook, you build a system. First, you roast those chicken thighs with carrots and onions until the bones are soft and the skin's crisp. This single step creates the foundation for 3 dishes. While the oven works, you peel and dice the onions and carrots for a hearty soup base, reserving the roasted bones for a rich, clear broth to simmer later. By the time dinner arrives, you've already secured a protein-rich main course, a nutrient-dense soup, and a flavorful stock, all from one pan and one shopping list. The magic lies in the timing and the layers. You might portion out the roasted meat for quick stir-fries on Wednesday, while the broth simmers into a comforting chicken noodle soup for Sunday, and the vegetable scraps become the base for a creamy risotto on Friday night. This method eliminates waste, stretches your budget, and ensures you're eating fresh, high-quality food without the stress of constant cooking. It turns grocery shopping into an investment rather than a chore. When you master this workflow, you realize that the complexity isn't in the ingredients themselves, but in how you orchestrate them throughout the week. It's about seeing the whole picture before you even lift a spoon, knowing that every carrot, every bone, and every herb has a purpose in the rhythm of your week. Think of your pantry not as a storage closet for forgotten leftovers, but as the architectural skeleton that holds up your entire year of eating. You don't need to chase the latest health trend or stock up on exotic spices that expire in 3 months. Instead, you build on a foundation of items that are cheap, tough, and infinitely versatile. Start with a gallon of plain water, which is the cheapest liquid you can buy, and a 5-pound bag of plain white rice. For a family of 4, that single bag feeds dozens of meals. Add a 10-pound bag of dried beans. They are the cheapest source of protein available and can be swapped into soups, stews, or even quick stir-fries without changing the core flavor profile. Keep a stack of canned tomatoes in various forms, puree, diced, and crushed, because they provide the base for sauces, salsas, and soups all year round. Then, grab a large container of plain oats. They are the ultimate breakfast staple that can also be turned into a thickener for soups or a base for savory porridges. Don't forget a bag of unseasoned chicken thighs or a similar cut of meat that freezes well and stays affordable. These can be shredded for tacos, chopped for pasta sauces, or broken into pieces for soups. A bottle of neutral oil like vegetable or canola oil, plus a small bottle of salt, pepper, and a jar of dried herbs like oregano and thyme, rounds out your essential toolkit. These items won't change, they won't expire quickly, and they will adapt to whatever ingredients you find on sale each week, giving you the power to eat like a chef without ever leaving your home kitchen. Imagine you're staring at a jar of plain, white rice that's been sitting on your shelf for a while. It's cheap, it's filling, but it lacks that punch that makes you want to savor every bite. The secret isn't adding more expensive sauces or pricey cuts of meat. It's all about the acid. Just a splash of lemon juice, a squeeze of lime, or a dash of vinegar can completely transform a bland dish into something vibrant and restaurant quality. Think about it this way. If you're eating plain steamed chicken breast, it might taste dry in one note. But if you finish it with a little bit of fresh lemon juice, suddenly it tastes bright, zesty, and complex. That's the power of acid balancing. Now let's talk about spice blending. You don't need a whole pantry full of exotic imports to create incredible depth of flavor. Consider this. Take a simple can of beans, which cost you maybe $2. If you just drain and rinse them, they're boring. But if you toss them in a mix of cumin, chili powder, garlic powder, and a pinch of oregano, you've just created a flavor profile that rivals a high-end restaurant taco. It's the same principle as a chef building a sauce. They start with a base and then layer in flavors. You can do the same with what you already have. So, the real magic happens when you stop treating your ingredients as isolated items and start seeing them as components of a larger flavor equation. By mastering just 2 techniques, acid balancing and spice blending, you can take whatever sale items you find, whether it's discounted spinach or bulk pasta, and elevate them into meals that feel special without breaking the bank. It's not about having the fanciest tools. It's about understanding how to make the most of what's in front of you. But where exactly do you go to find these deals? The answer lies in understanding the supply chain currents that move goods through your local aisles right now. In 2026, the grocery landscape is shaped by dynamic factors like regional weather patterns, global shipping container availability, and raw material costs. For instance, if a frost hits a major wheat-producing region in the spring, you might see bread prices stabilize or even drop as retailers pivot to local harvests to fill the gap. Watch for news on port delays or crop reports. These aren't just headlines for investors. They're your daily shopping forecast. When shipping times stretch, local markets often respond faster with fresh, seasonal alternatives that cost less than imported goods. Consider a scenario where you've been buying imported pasta for years. Now, imagine switching to domestically grown varieties. If domestic production surges due to favorable weather, you could save significantly, not just on the pasta, but on related items like sauces and oils that often follow suit. Your shopping strategy should shift from static habits to fluid adaptation. Start by identifying your core staples: rice, beans, eggs, flour, and track their price fluctuations weekly. If you notice a sudden dip, stock up, but don't hoard unnecessarily. Balance is key. Also, keep an eye on wholesale clubs or local cooperatives. They often have exclusive contracts that can offer better deals when supply chains are strained. By staying informed about these underlying currents, you transform your grocery trips from reactive chores into strategic opportunities. You're not just buying food, you're navigating the economy. So, the next time you walk into the store, ask yourself, what's moving right now? The answer could be the difference between a tight budget and a thriving one. So, what exactly happens when you shift your mindset from impulse buying to intentional meal planning? It all comes down to calculating the true cost per serving, which is the only way to see the real value of your ingredients. Let's say you used to buy a large family-size package of ground beef for $12, often ending up with leftovers that spoil before you can use them. If you only made 2 meals from it, that's a hidden cost of wasted food plus the price of extra condiments you bought just to finish the dish. Now, imagine you're building a chef's plate with lean beef, fresh spinach, and a simple herb sauce. You buy exactly what you need for 4 servings, costing you $10 total. When you divide that by 4, you get $2 per serving. Compare that to your old habit where you might have paid $6 per serving because you bought premium cuts, added expensive sauces, and wasted half the meat. That's a $3 difference per meal, which adds up quickly over a month. If you cook 4 times a week, that's $14 in savings every single week, or roughly $560 a year just by changing how you prepare your meals. This isn't just about buying cheaper items. It's about mastering the math of your own kitchen. When you know the exact cost of each plate, you stop guessing and start saving with precision. You'll find that even with slightly higher quality ingredients, your total spending drops because you eliminate waste and overbuying. This kind of clarity turns your grocery shopping into a strategic investment rather than a monthly chore. As you calculate these numbers, you'll notice how small changes in portion control and ingredient selection can lead to massive financial freedom. Keep this in mind as you plan your next shopping trip, and you'll see how a few extra minutes of math can transform your entire budget. Picture yourself this morning, exactly where you are right now, with one simple task. Open your phone's Notes app and type a single line. Day 1. Swap 1 expensive protein. That's it. No complex spreadsheets, no app downloads, just one tiny commitment to break the inertia. Tomorrow, day 2, you'll head to the grocery store with a list that prioritizes seasonal vegetables and frozen fruits over out-of-season imports, because those frozen items are often flash frozen at peak ripeness, locking in flavor and nutrients while costing a fraction of the price. By day 3, you'll experiment with a half-portion strategy for your main meals, doubling your servings of beans or lentils instead of meat, which instantly stretches your dollars without sacrificing satisfaction. Day 4 involves prepping 3 key components, like cooked rice, chopped onions, and diced carrots, that can be tossed into soups, stir-fries, or grain bowls for quick lunches throughout the week. On day 5, review your pantry and identify any items nearing expiration. Create a plan to use them within the next 48 hours, turning potential waste into delicious meals. Day 6 is all about meal prepping for the following week, focusing on high-volume, low-cost staples like oats, eggs, and canned beans that serve as reliable anchors for your diet. By day 7, reflect on your progress. Calculate how much you've saved by avoiding impulse buys and sticking to your plan, and adjust your approach for the next cycle. Remember, consistency beats perfection every time,